What types of surveys do you need for a new construction home? And maybe more importantly, how do you read them? Let's dive into it. There's really two different tracks we need to talk about. One is if you're building in a subdivision. The other is if you're building on raw land. Let's talk raw land first. For starters, when you buy a parcel of land, you should get a boundary survey. I would request one in the closing when you purchase the parcel. If you don't get one, you will need one. This is how drafters, designers, architects, people like me would know how big your floor plan can be to even start anything. So here's an example of a boundary survey. The information you need to know here is pretty simple. What we're needing to read, you have these solid lines which show your property. These dashed lines are then what the county has really deemed buildable area. Maybe it's through easements, maybe it's through required setback lines. Sometimes a lot of things like this are on here. So these 4 dashed lines in here that make up this rectangle, that's our buildable area for this parcel, the dark black lines that show out here. A couple things to look at. If it's saying something like a L4 or C4, that's referring to a line or chord chart that should be elsewhere in the drawing. Otherwise, you're looking at these dimensions. These are northern and easting. I won't get into that now. You can Google it if you want to find out direction of the parcel. But really what you're looking for are these handy dandy little measurements here, which give you your parcel size. And that's how you can see what's available for your building. Next, for raw land, you're going to need a topographic survey. So this is the survey that shows the elevation profile of your site. Typically in feet, usually lines are every foot, and then you see a more solid line every 5 or 10 feet or so. So this is showing where the grade slopes on your site. Extremely helpful because now we can figure out where does the garage need to be, where is there potential for like a daylight or walkout basement, where is too steep where we can't even build, and maybe most importantly, where does your septic field go? The septic field design is completely contingent on your topography. So it's something you really want to get dialed in here. You see the lines, what we're looking at now, we see some carryover from our boundary survey. You still get the overall parcel size with those there. But now you can see the elevations, 814. This is feet above sea level, 812, 811. So it looks like it's gently sloping higher on this side and then lower down here. Now, if you're building in a subdivision, you may be able to skip a couple of these steps. So you probably don't need a boundary survey because most likely your subdivision has been platted. What that means is somebody has already come in, take the big parcel, typically a surveyor or engineer, come in, taken the big parcel, taken the boundary survey, and then broken that down into individual parcels and submitted this to the county or city. So now this is your official lot. It's saying, hey, of this boundary, this is lot 18, and we've defined lot 18 as this. So you'll see here, you have all your handy dandy measurements, like 80 feet is your lot width, 134.83 is the depth. What gets a little bit confusing about subdivision plats is they include some stuff, but not all stuff. They'll include easements, and they'll include front and rear setbacks. Rarely do they include side setbacks. Those are typically defined by either the subdivision or the city/county. So you need to check all those places to be able to find out what would fit on this lot. If you're building in a subdivision, you may also have a grading plan. This is something that you see more and more with newer subdivisions, cities and counties sometimes even requiring that you follow this to the T, because what's happening here is as they are developing raw land, parceling it out, the engineers will then take this and define where all the water is going to go for every drop that lands on that subdivision or goes through that subdivision, where it's going to go. And in order to do that, they need to define how high the houses are going to sit and where the grade profile at each lot is sending the water. So that's what a grading plan is doing, is defining that for us. So this lot is not built. There's not a house on this yet, but you can see here, it's defining some things for us. It's got topography. The dashed line is existing topography. These dark bolded lines are proposed. So after you're putting the houses on, what is the topography supposed to look like? And so you see here, this road is at 919.9 almost. That's essentially where we're putting the garage floor. So this designer wants this driveway essentially flat, but we have a walkout elevation, 913.9. So as the grade profile is dropping here, 913.9, and then your grade will drop continually till you get to this basin. And that's designed to hold or trap water until it goes away. So this is very important, especially if your city or county is going to hold you to this. You're definitely going to want to know what they're holding you to. So make sure and check your grading plan. Now we're going to put all that together and actually start to put together the permit pack that you'll need to submit to your city or county. This would be after the home is designed. You'll send the home footprint back to the surveyor and they'll place it on your parcel for you. They're also going to do some really important things like locate anything like a transformer, anything that's there already on your site, they will locate. And additionally, they're going to set the elevations for your home. So these, all the rectangle outlined numbers are proposed. So none of those are existing. If you see a X with a very specific number here, that is a specific point that surveyor measured when they were out on site with their transit. They use all these little marks to interpolate the lines going through so you can see the topography. So we know that this road goes from 732.7 to 732.18, really pretty flat. We're going to put the final grade at the front of the garage. So basically the height of your garage floor / driveway, 734.5. The final grade at the front corner, 734.5. But then it's sloping a little bit. So we're going to see the backyard drops 4 feet. Maybe enough to get some daylight windows in that basement. If we do a patio here, that's going to drop a bunch of steps because our top of foundation is 735.2, final grade 734. So top of foundation is 735. So you're looking around 736 and a half for your finished floor. That's like 6 feet above this patio here. So something to consider as we're looking through this. Now that we've merged tracks here, this happens on whether you're in a subdivision or in raw land, you're going to need a drawing like this. The last thing you'll hear about often is staking. And you may or may not see a drawing on a computer that has where the stakes are on it, but you're definitely going to see them on your site. So two main things happen with staking. One, it's going to stake out the property corners. Where each corner of your parcel is, there will be, this is why they call it staking, there will be a wood stake they pound in the ground and put a little fluorescent tape on. Next, they're going to show where the foundation is going to sit. And to do that, they'll offset the stakes outside the corner so they don't have to rip them out when they're digging. And that's what the excavators and foundation crews will work off of in order to put your home in the right spot.